Hello, welcome back to How to RPG. Today it's all about HeroQuest, but I'm also doing a dice giveaway. Okay, so I'll explain all of that in a second. I'm going to put up a poll and ask you a question. Feel free to take part in that poll. I'm definitely going to be open to people asking questions and giving feedback, so by all means use the chat and I'll give you all the information you need for today. So my suggestion to you is go grab yourself some food, some drink, make sure you're comfortable, and then we'll go into the particulars of what's going on today. But so far we seem to be all right, which is good news, good news. I don't often do giveaways on this channel, and there's a very good reason for that. But today I'm doing one because I have been asked by one of the people who I've sort of supported over the years to do a giveaway. So I will explain that. I'll explain what we're covering today. So let's get started, shall we? Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and I want to talk about HeroQuest. Now, that's not the only topic for today. In fact, I'm doing a dice giveaway as well. So what I thought I would do is I would give you a breakdown right now of all the things that I'm going to be covering for today. So let's do that first. So I'm going to cover the dice giveaway first. I'm going to try to be fairly quick about that and give you all the information you need so you can go and take part in the dice giveaway. It does not matter where you live in the world. My understanding is that D&D WoW Dice will send the dice if you win anywhere in the world. Okay, so that's not an issue. You don't need to worry about that at all. I'm going to show you these in a second. Yes, they are the Call of Cthulhu Big Metal D20. Okay, I'm going to show you them in a second, and then I'm going to give you a link. You will find all the information you need for D&D WoW's the competition for winning those dice. It's down in the description of this video. Make sure you've got it there, but I will also put it in chat. We're going to go over HeroQuest, and that's basic combat. So what I thought I would do is I'd go over the different pieces of equipment. There is an equipment deck for HeroQuest, so I'm going to go over each item with you today and explain stuff. I haven't played for a very long time, so hopefully I don't get anything wrong. I'm also going to go through the artifacts deck, which is, these are items that you can pick up that are much more powerful than the standard equipment, which you can buy. You can't buy artifacts, you have to find them. Equipment you can buy. I'm also going to go over each of the monsters for HeroQuest and how they work. And I'm probably going to also explain a little bit about mind points, because I haven't said very much about mind points, so we need to sort of discuss that a little bit as well. So that is the intention. So giveaway first, followed by HeroQuest and equipment cards, artifacts, combat for monsters, combat for the player characters. That's the rundown for today. So let's go into showing you these things straight off the bat. So we're going to do a different screen. How's it going, Dungeons and Chronics? Hello, how are you? Hi, Michael, how are you doing? How's it going? Michael is a patron, supports me on Patreon, and I do appreciate it that he does. Also, we have Prepare, Cook and Survive. Hello, brother, how are you doing? Brother Melanchi. Oh, God, I botched that up so badly. How are you doing? If I have not recognized you as a patron, I didn't call it out, I apologize. Okay, right. We also have Fred Hubber. Hello. I simply do not have a need for more dice. Others need it more. Well, that's fine, Fred. You don't have to join the competition. It's perfectly fine. Overboard is a patron and a moderator, and he has a YouTube channel that deals with miniatures and dice and terrain, a lot of terrain. He's got a lot of Dwarven Forge and does reviews and stuff like that. Okay, let's go straight into the screen so you can see what we are dealing with today. There are 4 of the dice that I can show you, because that's all they sent me was the 4. There are, in fact, I think is there 6 or 8 designs? I can't remember. So these are Call of Cthulhu heavy metal dice. And it's a D20, as you can see. This is blue with sort of like a gold or a metallic finish. And the design on it, I don't know if you can necessarily tell very clearly from the camera, and if I move it closer you won't be able to see, and I can't zoom it in because I make sure everything is set up so it doesn't pop in and out and do all sorts of freaky things during a live stream. But it's actually got little octopus heads on it, which kind of looks like it's an illithid or maybe an octopus, or maybe an illithid from Call of Cthulhu. If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, I suppose you could say it's a Mind Flayer. We're not going to call them Mind Flayer dice, because then Wizards of the Coast will just go and give D&D WoW, the dice company, a really big hard time about this. These are a little bit like the hollow dice that they put out a while back that I have promoted in the past. The difference is they're not hollow. They are completely solid, okay? All right, so that is that particular one. Right, I'll put that aside and let me grab, should I? Okay, I'm going to have to make sure I do this in the right order so I can put them back in the right bag, so I won't know which one is which. All right, so that's one of them. Now, they come in a black velvet bag, okay? They sent them in plastic bags as well, but they come in a black velvet bag with D&D WoW on them. So you've got something to store them in if you want to. You probably do want to store them in something, and you want to have a dice tray. Otherwise, your table is going to be destroyed. These things are really heavy. So this one has got red numbers on it, and it's got a gold finish. Same sort of design, just different colouring. That's that one there. Okay. Now, as I said, you can win these. Down in the description, you'll find a link to join the giveaway. All right. So if you wanted to win these dice, you can. They're going to be giving away. There's 8 winners, so there's a good chance of winning. It's not like it's a small chance. This has got white numbers on it, so it's all in white, and you've got a blue finish. And again, you've got the same design with the octopusy, illithid, mind flayer sort of thing. Or should I say, blood? Is it tentacle sucker thing? That sort of thing going on. All right, last one that I can show off to you for today, before we get on to HeroQuest. This is probably the most familiar. It's got a slightly different finish. This is gold, and this is supposed to be a bronze finish with red numbers. Okay, same design, just a little bit different. I think they're all quite nice. I think the ones that are my favorite would have to be the gold one and the bronze one. I think this would be third choice. I don't like this one quite so much, but that's really up to you. So yes, rolling these things on my HeroQuest board is probably a very bad idea. Have plenty of runway, people, okay, when you roll these things. I'm just rolling them very gently, but I can tell you now that they are going to damage your table if you roll them on something without like a mat. Otherwise, they're going to be out of commission. So those are the dice that I'll be giving away today. And if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, you want to sign up and go into the draw. Now, the draw should be opening fairly shortly. I have scheduled it for April the 6th at lunchtime, and it should be open now. And yes, it is open now. It is going to be running for 16 days. So I will copy the link and put it into chat for you. Here we go. And dropping it in now. So it's now in chat. It is now currently live. So you can take part if you want to. Okay. Now, I would like those of you who are regulars on my channel, if you are wanting these dice, to definitely sign in. Now, there's a couple of things you can do, right? To actually get more chances to win, you can go to the website, D&D WoW. That's one way of doing it. Another way is to subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. But one of the things with a giveaway like this is you must provide your email address. I need to have your email address, and then you'll get a confirmation letter, which you need to. You get a confirmation letter email. Sorry, once you get the confirmation email for the giveaway, you must confirm. If you do not confirm, then I cannot get hold of you and consider you a legitimate entry. Okay, none of your emails will go onto an email list that I will use. This is not what my intention was. I'm not going to be doing that. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. But you do need to worry about making sure you confirm, because if you do not confirm, you won't be in the entry. Even if you've signed up, you have to confirm through the email that they send you. So check your spam. If you don't check your spam folders, it's probably in there when you finally get your email confirmation. If you do not get your email confirmation, and I notice that you haven't done so, I will send out another message for you to confirm before the end of their competition. sort of giveaway. Okay, so that was my intention for today. How I was going to run it. It's the same way that I did it last time. It felt like it worked pretty well the first time, so we're going to keep doing it that way. All right. So now you know the story with regard to the giveaway. I also wanted to sort of share with you the website so you know where it is. You know where my channel is, because if you're watching my video, it shouldn't be that hard to find. Okay, but what I thought I would do is at least show you the website very quickly. We're now 11 minutes in, and as far as I'm concerned, this is now running long rather than the way that I wanted. So this here is the competition. Okay, I've put it onto King Sumo, and basically you just need to enter in your email address, and ta-da, you are now in the draw. Okay. Now, one of the things I had decided to do with this draw was I would leave a day between the final conclusion of the competition before the draw is actually made. So you'll probably find, if you have one, that I will start letting you know probably about a week after the competition. It's probably, the giveaway is going to have a little bit of a, it's more to do with just sheer work. I can't get to everything. So that's the first part of that issue, I guess. So this is the D&D WoW website, people. This is the website. I've been dealing with these people for a long time. Yes, they are Chinese. They are a Chinese company. It's a very small Chinese company. And they've been putting out dice for a long time. And these are the dice here that I've just been showing you. And if we go into now that's organized under D20s. And you'll see, if we scroll down, the newer dice that they've just created are here. There's a couple more, I believe, on the other side. So this is, I believe, the bronze. This is the gold. That one there is the bronze blue. That one is the nickel that I showed you before. And that one is, I don't know what is it, metal blue, I guess, metal blue. And I think there might be one more. No, there's two more. This is the big blue, and this is the big... This is the copper. Okay, so there's a lot of different things going on there. All right, that's the giveaway, people. Now you know where to go and win. All right, so go sign up, get yourself into the drawer, so that I can give you some dice. Okay, that's the whole point behind this. Yes, you'll probably need more than just vinyl to be able to deal with that. You're probably going to need a harder surface. An actual battle mat may not be enough. These dice are significantly heavier than most dice because they're larger as well. The one you like the least, I like the best. Hey, Dungeons and Chronics, everybody to their own. It matters nothing with regard to what I like and what you like, right? So don't worry about that sort of stuff. It's cool. If you like something in particular, that's cool. All right, let's just get that screen out of the way because I'm making a mess. I'd forgotten where I was. Okay. I don't want to spend the shipping cost. You don't have to worry about the shipping cost. There is no shipping cost, people. You can go into the drawer and they will ship it to you for free. I did say they will ship it to you for free. Okay? If you're winning it, you're getting it sent to you for free. Okay, all right, cool. Let's get on with some HeroQuest, shall we? I think that's the ticket for today. Let's go on to HeroQuest, because that's why you were here. Surely that was the main reason why you were here. It was HeroQuest. Okay, so one of the first things I want to say is the basic concept behind this. Hello, Todd. How are you doing? You're welcome, Todd. Todd is also a patron, by the way. Before I forget. So is Michael Stan. Almost forgot. Hopefully I'm getting better at this. Okay, so with your player characters, they have to roll 6-sided dice to move. Okay, and your turn is made up, as I said before, of either you move and then you perform an action, or you perform your action and then you move, but you cannot separate your movement. You do not have to use your movement. You do not have to move at all, in fact, when you're playing the game. But what is definitely going to be standing out is the fact that you are going to find yourself with some very odd random movement going on. I find that frustrating at times. You probably will too. I'm going to talk about movement some other time in terms of what you can do about that problem, but not today, okay? Now, your dice are usually for your characters as listed on the character card. So for the wizard, for example, if, say, actually, let's do the barbarian first. We'll do the barbarian first. I actually want to go through each of the characters in a second, but usually what you do is you have either 1 attack dice, 2 attack dice, 3 attack dice. Some will have more than that. Some will have 4 attack dice. You can have quite a few dice for your attack dice. And when the idea is when you're making attack, say for the barbarian they would have 3. You roll 3 of these when you attack a monster. You need to be standing right next to the monster. So we'll ditch this. Let's say that they have rolled their dice and they've moved, and I rolled 7, so I can go. You can't move diagonally, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you lay out anything you can see, whether that be doors or something else. They need to be placed out, and we'll put a door there. Okay, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can open doors, and it's not an action to do so. It's a free action, okay? And you can do that probably more than once. There's no restriction on how many times you can open a door. But every time you open a door, there's more problems, okay? So if you open a door, and voila, we open the door. He's still got movement, and then you would lay out whatever's in the room on their turn. Okay, so maybe we've got a table here and a rack over here, and maybe we've got a monster looking after all of this, and for this situation we'll just use an orc, okay? And maybe the orc is just standing right there. So you've got 1 more movement left. You can move through and attack if you want to. You cannot search any kind of action that you select that requires searching. You need to make sure there's nothing in the location. So you can attack when there's monsters around. You can cast a spell when there's a monster around. You can't search. That's the one thing that's sort of a bit of a problem. So you don't get that option. Okay, now we make our attack. Once we're close enough to do so, we can't be diagonal, have to be close enough to be able to do so. And then roll your dice, and every time you roll a skull, that's a strike. So there are 2 skulls, 2 strikes, okay? Most monsters only have 1 hit point or body point, and then your orc would then respond by rolling the defense dice. The defense dice for the orc, if I can find that fairly quickly, which it should be in front of me, but I don't see it. Orc, goblin. Orc, there we go. So I left it over there. There we go. The orc has defense dice, okay? Attack dice is 3, but they've got defense dice 2. So you're only rolling 2 dice. That was the barbarian. Now, every time you roll a skull, it means nothing. You don't stop the incoming attack. If you roll the monster shield, this is the monster shield, then you can stop one of the skulls from getting through. If you roll a normal shield, this is the hero shield, it doesn't work either for a monster. Hero shields are only for the heroes. So the monster shield will block one of those skulls. Unfortunately, 2 skulls minus 1 skull means there's still 1 skull left, and an orc only has 1 body point. That's it. They don't have any more body points. So dead. Remove them. They're out of play. Okay? Very simple. If we were going back the other way and the orc was attacking, well, their attack looks like this. If they were attacking and it was Zargon's turn. Normally, all the player characters go through. All the characters, if you're playing a character, you go first, and Zargon always goes last. And you always start with the person on the left of Zargon. Okay, so your orc gets 3 attack dice. I'll bring them back. I'm going to move some of these cards out of the way because I'm going to use them in a second. Alright. I'm only going to go over this part very quickly, and then we're moving into the equipment cards, people. So, orc gets 2 skulls, 1 shield. The shield means nothing. So we count the 2 skulls only. When the barbarian wants to defend, their defend dice is listed right there. It's 2. So we get to roll 2 dice for that. So we'll put that over there. That's our attack for the orc. And then we roll here for our barbarian. our barbarian gets 1 shield and 1 skull. The skull means nothing, but it's a shield for a hero. Okay, so they can block one of the skulls. So they take 1 body point. Now, because your barbarian has 8 body points, they would only be down to 7 body points, because they're only losing 1 skull rather than 2 because of the shield. It's as simple as that. That's the basics of the game. It's a very lucky game. You're not really dealing with a lot of nuance here. It is designed to be played very quickly and easily with a younger audience. And this is one of the reasons why I like this game. Now that I've gone over that, what I want to do is I want to go through some of these cards, okay? So I'm going to clear a little bit of space, move a few things out of the way, and go through this now. All right. And we'll make a bit of space over here. Starting with our equipment. Now, one of the things I like about the equipment cards is the fact that what they've done is they've put a price on everything. Now, if you've been playing something like 5e, there's never any prices on any of the equipment other than the stuff in the player's handbook. Magic items don't have prices on them, okay? And I suppose you could it makes sense because the intention is that you can't go and buy them, you have to go and find them. What's this, Fred? The dice producer is funding the giveaway. Yes, the dice producer is funding the giveaway. I am not doing it. It is nice of them. It's good advertising, yes, but let's get real. My channel does not get a lot of traffic, so I think the benefit is better for me and for you than it is for them, honestly. The only difference is that I guess over the years I have supported them a lot. So, equipment cards. Let's go over that. What do you got here, Overboard? Can you attack diagonally if you have a longsword, if I remember correctly? Yes, we're going to go over that right now. There are weapons that allow you to attack diagonally. So if you were like this, you could not attack unless you had the right weapon. So if the orcs here, they can't attack you there. The basic weapons that your characters have is the elf has a short sword. The dwarf will have a short sword as well. The barbarian, I believe, has the broadsword. Okay, that's why they do so much damage, but it's got the broadsword. And then the wizard just gets a dagger, so it's not very much. I like pulling out D&D dice to use as counters. A D8 for a barbarian hit point tracker. Look, that would actually be a good idea. I think that's a great idea. And Fred, if that's what you do, cool. Right, the first one for today. Potion of Speed. This is worth 200 gold coins. You may drink the potion at any time, as it allows you to roll twice as many dice as usual the next time you move. This card is then discarded. So what does that mean? Well, that means that anytime your character, not the monsters, but the character decides to use their movement, whether it be before they take an action or after they take an action, you would normally roll 2 6-sided dice, okay, and that would be the result. But if you drink this potion, you're actually going to be rolling 4 dice. So you need to add another 4 dice to your pull. So you'll be rolling all 4 6-sided dice, and that's how far you move. There are some pretty big benefits to something like that. Now, you're probably wondering, what sort of action is it to drink a potion? Well, to drink a potion, there is no action. You can drink a potion at any time. Okay? And now, one of the things you'll notice is if you drink a potion that heals your body points, you can drink it just before or just as you're going down to 0 body points. So just before you would die, if you have a potion of healing, you can drink that to actually restore yourself so you don't die. So that's part of it. Now, if you want to pass a potion like this from one character to another, you have to do it on your turn. But you can drink a potion on somebody else's turn, okay? It's just one of those things they've put in there. They've decided that it's not necessary to codify that quite so much. And I suppose your questions next is, how many potions can I drink? Well, you can drink as many potions as you like, okay? There's no restriction as far as I remember. All right, so let's get rid of that. That's the first card we have in terms of equipment. The next one is the toolkit. Pretty important. The toolkit is 250 gold pieces. This is for disarming traps. Okay, This toolkit gives you a 50% chance to disarm and search for any found unsprung trap. Okay, so if you've searched for it and you've found it, you can disarm it. And there's some rules around how to do that, and it gives you a better chance of success. I went over how to deal with disarming traps last time, and if I need to go over disarming traps again, you'll let me know, okay? But that just makes it easier for you to do it more efficiently. So you definitely want to have that. Next, plate mail, which is 850 gold pieces. So it's important to collect your gold as you're going. So this is armor. This heavy metal armor gives you 2 extra defense dice. However, because it is so heavy, you may only roll 1 red die for movement while wearing it. May be combined with the helmet and or the shield. May not be worn by the wizard. So only the barbarian, the dwarf, so the barbarian, the dwarf, and the elf can use it. The wizard may not wear plate mail. So this means when you're moving, instead of rolling 2 6-sided dice, you'll be rolling just 1 for movement. And instead of your barbarian, who would have normally a defense of 2 dice, you'll now be rolling 4 dice. That's a huge benefit. So having plate armor is a big deal. So if you can get it and you've got the money, that in terms of your defense roll is significantly better. It's even better if you're dealing with something like the elf or the dwarf, because you've got fewer hit points. All right. So because of the fewer hit points, same thing though, because the elf and the dwarf, they both have a defense dice of 2. So instead of rolling 2, you're getting 4. Okay. So definitely useful for the barbarian, but probably even more useful for an elf or a dwarf. So yes, that's your plate. Next one. This is the broadsword. This is the sword that the barbarian already has as a standard weapon. It's worth 250 gold pieces. The weapon, this wide blade, gives you an attack strength of 3 combat dice. May not be used by the wizard. So obviously it can be used by the barbarian, the dwarf, and the elf, but not the wizard. And instead of having, say, if you're a dwarf or an elf, you would normally have 2 attack dice for your roll. You get to have 3. Okay, you're not getting an extra 3, you're just getting 3. Clank, clank, I'm the tank. That's right, exactly. Clank, clank, I'm the tank. So just adding 1 dice to the pool makes a huge difference. All right, next one. This is the long sword. This is what I believe somebody was mentioning before. The long sword allows you to attack diagonally. Okay, it is worth 350 gold pieces. This blade or long blade gives you the attack strength of 3 combat dice. So you also get 3 combat dice because of its length. The long sword enables you to attack diagonally. May not be used by the wizard, so the wizard doesn't get to use this either. But the elf, the dwarf, and the barbarian can use the long sword. So a huge benefit to the elf and the dwarf, but also hugely beneficial because you can attack diagonally, because you're getting 3 attack dice rather than just 2 if you're an elf or a dwarf. So you want to have that over the short sword for sure. But now you are allowed, because before if we were diagonally we could not attack, and now we can. Okay, so you can be diagonally, which is great if you're standing in a doorway and you're dealing with monsters. Because imagine if you've got a long sword, and I'm just going to position a few people over here. And your elf has got the long sword. So now only the barbarian would normally be able to attack through the doorway, because you need to be able to go from center to center. You need to be right next to them, adjacent. And then of course the dwarf won't be able to do anything unless they had a long sword, because you can't use your short sword to go diagonally. But if the elf has got the long sword, then you get to roll 3 of these dice, which is more than you normally get instead of your 2, and that's 2 more attacks. And it doesn't even matter if there's more monsters in the room. Only one would be able to attack through the doorway unless they had a weapon that allows them to attack diagonally. And most monsters don't. So that's kind of cool. Yep. So that's the long sword. The next one is the staff. Pretty obvious who it's designed for, but this is 100 gold coins. Weapon. This is a long, sturdy wooden staff, gives you the attack strength of 1 combat dice, so it's not great in terms of your attack. You're only getting 1 of these white dice to roll for your attack. Because of its length, the staff enables you to attack diagonally. You may use, you may use a shield when using this weapon. So you can equip a shield and use the staff. It is designed primarily to be used by the wizard. It doesn't state that. It means that an elf, a dwarf, or a barbarian could use it. But since you're only getting to roll 1 attack dice, it's probably not a good idea. So you probably want your wizard using that. So if the dwarf is around, shift them out of the way. Now if you've got a staff, you can attack the orc through the doorway with this thing. Okay? But you would only get 1 attack dice, which is generally what our wizard normally gets, because they've got a dagger and they only get 1 attack dice anyway. So yeah, so it's a better weapon than your dagger if you can get it. All right, I think I need to drink of water. Hang on. What do you got here? The monk. I'm not sure what the monk is all about. You'll have to explain it to me more. What's this here, Fred? Leave the weak one standing in the door and attack diagonally to kill stronger while they can't hit back. Yes, yeah, okay. Now, next piece of equipment. Holy water. It's 400 gold pieces, so it's quite expensive. You may use the holy water instead of attacking. It kills an undead creature, skeleton, zombie, or mummy. This card is then discarded after use. So it only kills 1 undead creature, but there's no attack roll. It just destroys them. Okay? And you're probably wondering, well, what's the distance on it? There's no intention for it to be used at distance. You need to be standing next to it. Okay? I'm pretty sure that's the intention behind the card. And it's only a single use, so you only get to use it once. Next, helmet. So this is armor. It's 125 gold coins for the helmet. This protective headpiece gives you 1 extra defense die. May not be worn by the wizard, so the wizard doesn't get to wear this. But the benefit is that if you got a barbarian with a defense of only 2 dice, you now have 3, which is better. And if you are a dwarf or an elf, you go from having 2 defense dice to 3 defense dice. So quite useful for all 3 of those characters, but the wizard doesn't get to use it. Next, short sword. It's a pretty standard weapon. You're not really going to be using the short sword. If anything, I would say the only time that the short sword would be useful to you is if your existing short sword for your elf or your dwarf got destroyed. Okay, and you had no other choice. So it's 150 gold pieces. This short sword gives you an attack strength of 2 combat dice. So instead of 3, we're dealing with just 2 combat dice. May not be used by the wizard. So it's generally just a standard weapon that the dwarf and the elf would use in the game. That's it. If your barbarian's already got a broadsword, you probably don't want to use a short sword. As I said, you'd only use the broadsword if it winds up getting rusted or destroyed in some way. And there is some magic out there that can do that, but very limited. It doesn't come up for that often. Okay, next one. The battle axe. The battle axe is worth 450 gold pieces. This weapon, this heavy double-edged axe gives you the attack strength of 4 combat dice. So it's quite a lot. You want a battle axe. If you can get a battle axe, grab a battle axe. Okay, so you get 4 combat dice, and you may use this with a shield. Oh, so you may not use a shield when using this weapon. So it's intended to be used with 2 hands. So you can't wear a shield and use this. It can't be used by the wizard. So that means that your barbarian, your dwarf, and your elf can all use this, and you're going to get 4 dice to roll for your attack. Okay, which significantly makes it easier for you to deal with, particularly the Chaos Warriors. What's this, Michael? Sorry, let me just check out what you got here. OS there are smaller games like this, or a clone of it? Does anyone know? So Michael, I've been trying to track down how to get hold of the dice, because the dice mechanic is super simple. But what I thought I would do is I would present you with an alternative dice mechanic next week, because the dice themselves are quite difficult to get. You kind of have to buy the board game. They don't sell them as like an accessory. Do you know what I mean? But anybody can buy a 6-sided dice, so I'm going to explain how to do that. I thought my ex-wife was a battle axe. Did you? Really? Sure? Right, that's the battle axe. Next is the hand axe. It's worth 200 gold coins. If you want to buy it, you can always buy equipment outside of the adventure. You can't buy it during the adventure, by the way. This hand axe allows you to roll 2 attack dice. It can also be thrown at a monster in your line of sight, but is lost once you throw it. So you don't want to throw the hand axe unless you are really, really sure it's necessary. But you're only going to get to roll 2 attack dice, but you can do it at range. Now there's no limit on the range as long as you can see. And if you can see, if you can draw a line from the center of your miniature, okay, or character, to the center of the monster, and there's nothing blocking it, you can do it. Okay. You're probably wondering, does another character or monster block line of sight? Yes, it does. Yes, other characters and monsters do block line of sight for attacking, and that applies to spells and for throwing the hand axe. Okay, it's an old cartoon reference. I missed it. Okay, the shield. We've been talking about the shield so much. It's worth 150 gold coins. It's armor. This handheld armor gives you 1 extra defense dice. May not be used with the battle axe or the staff, which is already stated as such. May not be used by the wizard. So that means it can be used by the elf, the dwarf, and the barbarian. As long as they're not using a battle axe or a staff, you can have a shield. And you get to add an additional dice for your defense. And the defense for your barbarian, your dwarf, and your elf is 2. So instead of having 2, you're going to get 3 defense dice. Okay, to stop those skulls coming through. Next one. Crossbow. This is 350 gold coins. And this is a weapon. This long-ranged weapon gives you an attack strength of 3 combat dice. You may fire at any monster that you can see. However, you cannot fire at a monster that is adjacent to you. So you can't be standing right next to it. So if I had a crossbow with a barbarian, I can't be standing right next to it to be able to shoot it. You have an unlimited supply of arrows. May not be used by the wizard. Okay, so that means you get to roll 3 combat dice. There's no range limit. Okay, as long as you can see, you can hit center to center. Okay, and you're away. Right. So you need to have a bit of distance between you. Okay, you need to be a little bit further away, and then you can shoot this thing. Okay, barbarian can now shoot your orc with your crossbow. It's a pretty good deal. And if you can shoot and kill things from a distance, it is probably more useful, frankly, to have a crossbow than to have a broadsword. Okay, just because you can kill things at a distance. So yes. So Don makes a good point. I wasn't going to bring this up today, but maybe I should, since you have already brought it up, Don. So Don has just said here that you count the 5 and the 6 and the 5 on a 6-sided dice. So the 5, the 6 and the 5 is a skull, and the 4, 3, and 2 is a white shield, which is the hero defense. So 4, 3, and 2 is the white shield, and then the 1 will represent the monster defense shield, which is the black shield. And if you look at the existing dice they have, since Don, you've brought it up, and thank you for doing so, you'll notice that on the dice that they've made, there's only 1 monster shield. Okay, so that's why he's saying 1. If you look on the dice very, very carefully, you'll notice that there's only 2 shields, hero shields. Okay, and there are 3 skulls. So what I would do and suggest, rather than setting it up so that that 6, 5, 6 and 5 is a skull, is you go 6, 5 and 4 is a skull, but 3, 2 is a white shield or a hero shield, and a 1 would be your monster shield, and then you've got it. It's the easiest way, and you don't ever have to go and buy these expensive dice. You can go and get standard dice from anywhere, and you've all got these dice floating around. So a little bit of a HeroQuest hack. I kind of figured that somebody had figured it out. Yeah, it's just need to rearrange it, but I'll talk about that again maybe next week a little bit more, and have some way of sort of demonstrating it a bit better too. Because right now I'm just explaining it, aren't I? Michael, what do you got here? So what is this? That's a pretty good hack. You can always draw up a map or use any battle mat, really. Just need to know what the stars are for everything. Yes, so all of the maths behind the monsters and characters, you can find all this online. So one of the things you'll find down in the description, Michael, and everybody else, is I have provided you with a link to the companion app. It's a phone app. I believe it's also available on computer, and it allows you to play solo. If you wanted to play HeroQuest solo, you can play solo, but it also eliminates the need for you to have somebody playing Zargon, because the companion app is there to do that for you, so you can just play with other people and just have the companion app do everything for you. You just keep pressing the buttons, and then it doesn't have dice rolling into it, but everything else is done. It even reads out the descriptions to you. Down on the link, you'll find the companion app. On top of that, there's I think it's a Ye Old Inn. I believe it's called something. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's either Ye Old Inn. There's a website with a whole lot of different resources for this. Ye Old Inn, HeroQuest resources. So you can go and access all of that really, really easily. Revised, yes, Don, it's revised. We got it sorted out. So a solution to trying to get the dice, since the dice are so hard to get hold of, right? So if I can find more resources on HeroQuest to make this easier as a transition for you, I will do so. It shouldn't be too hard for you to remember on a chart what has been suggested. 6, 5, 4 is a skull, 3 and 2 is a white shield, and 1 is a black shield. Okay? And you can play with your kids. They'll remember that in no time. Yes, skewed heavily in the favour of the characters. Yeah, very much in the favour of the characters, that crossbow. Next one, the dagger. Oh, it's not a very good weapon. It's only 25 gold pieces. This sharp knife gives you an attack strength of 1 combat dice. A dagger can also be thrown at any monster you can see. So there's no range restriction on it, but it is lost once you throw it. So if you're not really caring about the fact that you've got a dagger and you want to get rid of it, then that's probably a good way to do it, is get rid of it that way. Okay? But you're only going to get 1 combat dice. That's the only bummer. But the fact that you can use a dagger at range is what's really important, because it means you don't need to move to them. Why would you do that if you run out of movement but you want to make an attack and you couldn't get to the monster? Okay, because the last thing you want to do is wait until Zargon takes his turn and has the monster move to you. So throwing it is probably a good idea. All right, next. Braces. This is worth 550 gold coins, which is quite a lot. Armor. This hardened leather braces gives you a 1 extra defense dice. So you get 1 extra defense dice, maybe combined with the helmet and or the shield. So you can wear it with a shield and a helmet. So that's quite useful, the braces. Just expensive. So if you have a barbarian, a dwarf, or an elf who would normally get just 2 defense dice, okay, you get an extra 1. So you now have 3. If you are a wizard and you have defense dice 2, you'd also get 3. So pretty useful item, considering there's no limit on what class can actually play it. This is the last of the equipment cards. This is chain mail. This is worth 500 gold coins. Armor. This light metal armor gives you 1 extra defense dice. It may be combined with the helmet and or the shield. May not be worn by the wizard. So that's only really going to be used by your elf, your dwarf, and your barbarian. Or if you're using some of the other, there are a few other playable classes available that are not in the standard game. I'm not going to go over those because I don't actually know that much about them. I know that they are newish. So instead of just having 2 defense dice, you'd wind up with 3 defense dice because you get an extra 1, which is kind of useful. More chances of getting those shields for your hero. Okay, so that is the equipment cards. There are multiples of these. I've just selected out the ones that we're not going to repeat the same thing over and over again. So there's your equipment. We're going to do artifacts, which is probably going to be quite a bit more complicated than the others. I just need a drink of water. I am going to post my this competition for these dice in the chat again. For those of you who are interested, let me just copy this and drop it back into the chat. And paste. All right, go sign up for the competition to win the Call of Cthulhu big heavy metal dice, people. All right. What do you got here, Michael? I bet you could find stickers that are small enough for dice, or just use permanent marker if you need be. Yes, you probably could. So I do have some blank dice, and you could just write and make up your own. You could write shields. You just draw a shield and leave it blank inside. Monster shield would just be a shield that you would draw. You know what a shield looks like, and then you just color it in black. And then the skulls. Well, if you're good enough, maybe you can draw a little face with some eyes, and there's you got a skull, and you can make your own dice up. And you never had to go and buy the game at all. Was this the reason you did this, Fred, is so that you could convince people that they should play HeroQuest without buying the board game? Yeah, a little bit like that. So what's this, Michael? So this is designed to be played over and over with the same character, keeping track of gold and items they get from campaign to campaign. Yes, Michael, it is. So the idea is that once you leave the staircase, you've started the adventure. When you return to the staircase, you return to the normal to the world, and you can go and buy your stuff. So the idea is not to get killed. If you get killed, you lose your stuff. So you want to get back whatever you've collected back to the surface. So searching for treasure and finding treasure and useful items, whether that be gold or equipment, is really important. Because once you return to the surface, you get back all of your resources that you lost. So all of your hit points, when you take a rest period basically, and you can go spend your money, you get all your body points back, and you're away. Now, really quickly, mind points. You'll notice that all of the characters, including the monsters, have mind points. Okay, the barbarian has 2, dwarf has 3, elf has 4, and the wizard has 6. What this refers to is how many of these 6-sided dice you would roll when you're dealing with a sleep spell or a fear spell, and there's a couple of other spells too that affect your mind. It doesn't come up very often, and it's usually only regarding something like a spellcaster casting a spell on your character. Okay, and I'm going to go over spellcasting and mind points later, and how that works for various spells, probably in about 2 weeks. Okay, because next week I'm going to show you how to, I guess, hack the game and change things a little bit. Anyway, let's go over the artifacts before I lose my voice. Nothing stopping you from just using your existing miniatures too, by the way, people. You could do that without too much trouble. Okay. All right, here we go. The Elixir of Life. This is a small bottle of pearly liquid, really, brings a dead hero back to life, restoring all of their body and mind points. Okay, so you can potentially, under certain circumstances, doesn't happen very often, you can lose mind points, which is a bad thing. Losing mind points is not as bad as losing body points, I can assure you. This potion can only be used once, so you only get to use it once. So the great thing about this is you hang on to it, and if you die, your character dies, you play it. Okay? As soon as you hit 0 hit points, you play it, and your character doesn't die, and you get all of your body points back. You'd never want to really play this any other time. That would be the only time I can think of. So a huge benefit to you. So this is also an artifact. These are things you have to find, by the way. Rod of Telekinesis. You'll notice there's no prices on these, and that's because you can't buy an artifact. Once per quest, you may use this rod to trap a monster within a magical force. A trapped monster misses its next turn. The spell, the spell can be resisted immediately by the monster by rolling 1 6-sided dice for each of their mind points. If a 6 is rolled, it resists the spell. So Rod of Telekinesis is a little interesting in that it's based on, you roll the 6-sided dice, not the attack dice here, not the HeroQuest attack dice, but a 6-sided dice. If you roll a 6, they resist it. And this mechanic comes up a lot in this game, by the way. And so you look at your different monsters for this. So something like the Rod of Telekinesis, which can be reused, it would work really well against a skeleton because it's got no mind points, so you don't get to roll any 6-sided dice. A zombie, okay, you could use that as well because it doesn't have any mind points, no 6-sided dice for it. The mummy also doesn't have any mind points. A goblin would only get 1 6-sided dice to roll because it's only got 1 mind point. The gargoyle is a bit more problematic. It's got 4, so you would have to grab a few extra dice, that is. You would have 4 6-sided dice, and any time it rolled a 6, it would resist. So a much better chance. The abomination, it gets 3 6-sided dice to resist, okay, because it's got 3 mind points. And the dread warrior also gets 3 because it's got 3 mind points, okay. Now, when you'll notice one of the things on here, usually on these cards, it's kind of interesting. It says here, the spell can be resisted immediately. So that means as soon as the spell is trying to go into effect, they can try to resist it. And it doesn't state anything else. So as far as I know, usually on these cards, if you resist it immediately, it says you can resist it immediately. And it does, it says that. If there's further rolls to be made to resist this effect, then you would make it later. But because it's not an ongoing effect, it doesn't work that way. So there's only one chance to resist it, and that's immediately. Some other spells require you to have an ongoing roll every time you come up to the Zargon's turn for the monster. All right? Okay. Next, let's move these monsters out of the way. This is Borin's armor. It's obviously armor. This magical suit of plate mail gives you 2 extra defense dice, unlike normal plate mail. Okay, so there's, I don't think what they're referring to is probably the scale mail rather than plate armor. Okay, it's a little bit different to that. This mysterious ultra light metal armor does not slow you down if you wear it. May be combined with the helmet and or the shield. May not be used by the wizard. So what it means is you still get to, there's no restriction of the number of 6-sided dice as a hero that you get to roll. You get to use your two dice to roll for your movement. And then of course, instead of just having 2 defense, because all the heroes have got 2 defense dice, you would get another 2 defense dice. So you get 4 defense dice because of that particular armor. Is there a level up? Okay, so characters don't really level up in HeroQuest. HeroQuest is designed around the equipment and the items that you find. And I do believe Advanced HeroQuest had a level up system, by the way, Dungeons and Chronics. But standard HeroQuest doesn't have that kind of thing built into it. And it was always sort of intended to be, I guess, you are only as good as the equipment you have, rather than you are a superhero who gets more powerful and grows in power over time, like Dungeons and Dragons. What you've got to understand is HeroQuest is a small portion of what Dungeons and Dragons is trying to do. Somebody has essentially tried to distill the experience of playing Dungeons and Dragons down to a board game and make it as simple for somebody to play as possible. But there would be ways of getting it to a point where you could have leveling up. Leveling up, though, would probably not mean what you would expect it to mean. My understanding is that leveling up looks very different. Anyway, in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Advanced HeroQuest, should I say. Not Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry, people. All right. Okay, we'll deal with that some other day. Fortune's Longsword. So this long blade enables you to attack diagonally, of course, and gives you 3 attack dice. Once per quest, the hero may use its power to re-roll 1 attack die. Okay? May not be used by the wizard. So it's essentially just like your longsword. Okay? The longsword allows you 3 attack dice and you attack diagonally. The only difference is you get to, if you don't get quite what you wanted with your attack, so I roll my dice and things don't quite work out the way I'd hoped. Right, well I got 2 skulls, but I got a shield, monster shield. I don't really want the monster shield. Now I can roll it again and hopefully get another skull, but I didn't. But anyway, but I get the chance to do so. So that's quite a good weapon for a magic item. Orc's Bane. This is a weapon. When using this magical short sword, you re-roll 2 attack dice. You roll 2 attack dice. You may attack twice if attacking an orc. So, against orcs, it's really useful. May not be used by the wizard. So, normally a short sword is 2 attack dice. If you are attacking an orc, in this case, let's just chuck our elf in here for now. If you're attacking an orc and you make your attack and you don't get very good because you rolled all monster shields, then you get to attack again. So being able to attack twice is good. Just not rolling those results. I wanted skulls. That's really what we wanted. And Advanced HeroQuest was more deadly. Yes, Advanced HeroQuest is more deadly. It's a very simple introductory game, Fred. Exactly. But I'm going to present you with some other stuff so you can push this game into a different direction, if you might say, like a lot of things I do. The Phantom Blade. This is a weapon. This ornate dagger gives you 1 attack die, okay, or dice. Once per quest, when you attack with the dagger, your target may not defend themselves as the weapon passes through their armor. So the Phantom Blade is pretty good. Now you might be wondering, what if I have multiple weapons? Can I swap between them? Yes, you can. Is it an action to swap between weapons? No, it's not. You can just do it. So it's not a problem when you take up your turn and you're just like, oh, I've got a broadsword right now in my hand, but I want to use the Phantom Blade instead because I've got one use and I want to take out this monster straight away without having to worry too much. So what's the deal? Can I use it? Yes, you can. So you stow your broadsword and you pull out your Phantom Blade and you stab them. Because putting the broadsword away and pulling out the Phantom Blade is not an action. Just the attack is the action. Okay? So you can do that. It's possible. But you only get 1 dice and they may not defend. So the hope is that when you use your Phantom Blade, you get a skull. If you get a skull, then you're in business. If you don't get a skull, it's kind of a bit of a bummer. But not having a monster being able to defend is a good thing. Michael, I downloaded a HeroQuest app. Yes, should be fun to play with while in doctor's waiting room or during commercials. Absolutely, Michael. And I recommend people give it a go because I was looking in and I was thinking, oh, this is clever. And I was like, so people really think that a automated artificial intelligence dungeon master is not likely very shortly. I hate to say it, but I think it's very much. And then I'm like, it can only do so much. I seriously nowadays I think it'll be able to do just about anything. maybe not just it can't wipe your ass, but it can do something. I'm sure of it. Okay, Ring of Return. When invoking this magical ring, returns all heroes the ring wearer can see to the starting point of the quest. It can only be used once. So, You only get to use it once. But the great thing about it is this is the thing you use when you need to escape a bad problem. When you are really stuck and you know you're probably going to die and your group's going to get wiped out and you need to get out of there fast, you get back to the staircase and escape. This is your escape ring, okay? Ring of return. So if you want to return everybody so that nobody winds up perishing in a bad situation, use that. And you can't get out if you're stuck with lots of monsters around you. The Ring of Fortitude. This magical ring raises a hero's body point by 1. So that means this is permanent as long as you're wearing it. Instead of the barbarian having 8 body points, they would have 9. And the dwarf, instead of having 7 body points, would have 8. Your elf, instead of 6 body points, would have 7. And your wizard, who has only got 4 body points, would wind up with 5. So it's a really good item. All right, next one. Michael, so I will see you next time. I gotta go. Not a problem. Stay frosty. I will stay frosty, Michael. You have a good day. Have fun with that HeroQuest app. Sorry, people. I just need to drink some water so I don't dry up. Okay. Talisman of Law. This magical medallion increases your mind points by 1 for as long as it has been worn. So, this basically means if every time you have to deal with sleep spells or fear spells or anything else that affects your mind, it's going to go up by 1. So the barbarian's mind points of 2 would be 3. The dwarf's mind points of 3 would be 4. Your elf's got 4 mind points, it would now be 5. And your wizard, who has 6 mind points, good lord, would now be 7. So really useful again, that sort of thing. If you can find it, great. Who probably needs it the most? I would say you probably want to give it to the barbarian. More likely to wind up getting messed up. What's that, Fred? The robots being made today could operate TP. Yes, they could. Exactly. The robots being operated today can do just about anything. So, yeah. Okay, Spirit Blade. Weapon. This magical blade broadsword has an airy handle of carved bone. When using it, roll 3 attack die or roll 4 if attacking an undead monster. So in other words, it can't be used by the wizard. So undead monsters are counted as skeletons, zombies, and mummies. So you would normally get 3 for this blade. But if you're dealing with undead such as skeletons, zombies, or mummies, you want to put your weapon away that you've got right now, pull out your spirit blade and use the spirit blade, because it's going to do a lot more, okay? Because you're going to get 4. And as long as you're not diagonal, you'll be able to make your hit and your attack. You need to be adjacent, either vertical or horizontal. So 4 dice is better than 3. So quite a handy little tool. Next one. We're almost done by the looks. Spell Ring. This ring enables a hero to cast 1 spell 2 times, not simultaneously, at the beginning of a quest. The wearer of this ring must declare which of their spells are stored in the ring. So, pardon me. So this is a little bit complicated, this one, this spell ring. So this ring enables a hero to cast 1 spell 2 times, not simultaneously. So in other words, it allows you to cast a spell, but you can't cast it on the same turn twice. Okay, all right, got it. At the beginning of a quest, the wearer of this ring must declare which spell. So what you decide which spell is stored in your spell ring, and you can use it. So it's basically giving you more spells, which is kind of useful. Okay. That would allow you the access to 2 more spells during your quest, which is pretty good. Next, Wizard's Cloak. This magical cloak made of shimmery fabric is covered with mystical runes. It can be worn only by the wizard, giving them 1 extra defense dice. So for the wizard who struggles to find things that they can help increase their defense, this is useful. So normally wizard only gets 2 defense dice. If you wear the wizard's cloak, you get another defense dice to help protect you. And if you can find the braces as well, then you can push that up to 4. So much like a 2-slot ring of spell storing. Yes, it's very much like that. That's the ring that we were talking about before, the spell ring. Absolutely. Next one. Is there two more? Just two more left, yes. The Wizard's Staff. This long ancient staff glows with a soft blue light. It can be used only by the wizard, giving them 2 attack dice and the ability to attack diagonally. So the wizard staff is probably the one you want to grab if you're the wizard, because there's very few weapons you are allowed to use. So you can attack diagonally, which is absolutely useful to you, because normally you can't do that. And instead of getting 1 attack dice, you get 2 attack dice. So definitely the wizard tool. So you want that one for sure. It gives you a better chance of getting a skull. The last one, Wand of Magic. This magical wand allows a hero to cast 2 separate and different spells on their turn instead of 1 single spell. So this is a little different. I think the idea behind this one is you can cast 2 different spells on their turn. So normally you would only be able to cast 1 spell on your turn. Okay, if you've got spells accessible, so you're an elf or a wizard, you can cast spells. And normally you would only be able to cast 1 spell. Now you can cast 2 spells on the same turn, which is pretty good. And it's not something that you can only use once, so you can reuse it. What it'll definitely mean is you'll burn through your spells really fast. Hi Brian, how are you? Cool. I'm happy to watch this live. I bet I missed a lot already. Just rewatching later. That's not a problem. So I'm going to share the giveaway for the dice that there are potentially 8 winners. Okay, 8 people can win these. Go into the draw. Make sure to confirm your email when you get the email for the competition. Okay, so that is the artifacts. That's all the artifacts in the basic game. There are a lot more in the supplements that you can get as well. What I want to do at this point is I want to take a short break, come back, and then go over just a couple more things, and then we'll finish for the day. So I thought what I would do is I would go over each of the monsters just briefly and explain anything else that I need to. My intention is, and I'm going to just end this poll for now. So we've got plenty of people who do, some people who don't, which is fine. Let me just jump over to my face. Give me a second. You'll have to put up with my ugly mutt for a little bit. There we go. I want to give you guys just a brief idea before I go take a short break and come back. Okay. One of the things I wanted to do with HeroQuest is I wanted to go over the basic rules. I wanted to cover combat, which I'm doing very much today because that's why we're looking at the artifacts and the equipment. And I did a little demonstration explaining how to do basic attacks. Next week, same time, same day, I'm going to present you with a whole lot of house rules you could use to modify HeroQuest to make it a bit more like a role-playing game and eliminate some of the more frustrating aspects of the game that you may not like. That's what I was going to do next week. And then the following week after that, same day, same time, I'm going to go through the different magic spells that are available for the game. Okay? That was sort of where my head was at with regard to how to explain all of this. What you'll notice is that HeroQuest is built around combat, exploration, trap finding, disabling, and that's really the gist, and looting rooms. So it's taken some of the basic elements of a role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons, because it's based off Dungeons and Dragons, and distilled it down. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, yeah, but Fred, what if I want to do something else with it? What if I wanted to bribe monsters? Or what if I wanted to talk to them? Well, I'm going to present some of that stuff next week. But today I thought it would be better just to go over the basics so it's nice and clear how everything else works. Okay, right. Let me just go take a 5-minute break. I will be back. Go sign up for the competition, people. Okay, sign up for the giveaway so you can get those dice. Back shortly. Here we go. Scroll back into my space. Here we go. Almost there. Have I run out of water yet? Been talking so much today. Okay. All right. Let's rock back in. Stick it on. It's actually cold today, much to my surprise. I'm like, oh, okay, it feels like winter now, but it's not. It's autumn. It's definitely autumn. It's not winter. All right. Let's have a look at chat, and then we're going to go through the last little bit. Old joke. We go in, kill all the creatures, take all the loot, go home, and gain a level. And really, this game is built really very much around that. It's it is just the rudimentary aspects of Dungeons and Dragons, with a lot of the nuance that would make it much more difficult to enter the game. I don't understand why Wizards of the Coast has not figured out, or Hasbro hasn't figured out, that if they had looked at what was already done in the past and did a little bit of adjustment, they could have made the game a little bit better. But at its root, there's a lot going for it. But anyway, and without making it too complicated, we don't. Which is unfortunately what tends to happen nowadays with a lot of role-playing games. What do you got here, Brian? If I win the dice, there's a super cool, then it's super cool. But if one of our patrons is in the contest, please give it to one of them. They make your channel grow. So first off, here's my thoughts here, Brian. And I would love if a patron who's supporting the channel would win the dice. But I'm not going to ask people to give them to particular people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like whoever goes into the draw goes into the draw, and there's 8 potential winners. So, you know, I am fine. I've always said, look, every time D&D WoW says this, I'm always saying, look, how about we just give them to my patrons, because they're the ones who really support the channel, and they keep coming back. They watch all the videos, they watch the live streams, they interact with me. They're the ones who are really doing the supportive side of stuff. And usually it's like, nah, we're just going to make it open to anybody, and that's fine. That's part of the deal of this whole thing. But I'm not going to. I wouldn't ever sort of require somebody to give it to one of the patrons. That's not necessary at all. Okay. I ensure that patrons on my Patreon get as much as I can possibly put up there, and they're going to get far more in the future. Okay, it's only a matter of time before you're going to get far more than is reasonable for the whole thing. Yeah, I think a YouTube contest says you can't screw the odds. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it would undermine the whole process of doing it. Anyway, let's go back to what I was trying to explain before, which is mechanics for combat in HeroQuest. That's why we're here. So let's do that, shall we? Okay, all right. Let's make that happen. Moving a few things out of the way. Pardon me as I clear my board a little bit. All right, so with a door, when you open a door, you can't close a door, by the way. This is one of the things that I think I wound up house ruling, but in the basic game, you can't close a door once it's open, which to a certain degree is kind of a pain, but it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that table for now, because it's actually going to kind of cause me more trouble. I'm going to position my little heroes in various places, so that they can sort of do something. And we'll put our wizard over here, put our elf here, and then we're going to put in a various monster. So first off, with each of these characters, the barbarian, okay, super simple. All characters use 2 6-sided dice to move. His broadsword is his weapon. Doesn't have any starting armor. It's listed in tiny words at the bottom of the card. You get 3 attack dice for attacking, and 2 defense dice. You have 8 body points and 2 mind points. So you've probably got a good chance of being affected by a sleep spell or a fear spell of some kind. Okay, so that is your barbarian. Your dwarf, should you decide to play the dwarf, your dwarf gets 2 6-sided dice for movement, exactly the same. They don't move slower because they're shorter. Short legs don't mean anything in this game. You get no starting armor, and you get a short sword. Okay, you've got 2 attack dice and 2 defense dice. You got 7 body points and 3 mind points. Nice and simple. So that's that one. This is this fella over here. This is the barbarian, of course. This here is the elf. Out of all the characters, I would suggest put the elf, the dwarf, and the barbarian in up close. Don't put your wizard up close if you can help it. It's probably a bad idea. Okay, wizard's really not equipped for doing a lot of close quarter combat. Okay, no starting armor for the elf. You've got starting weapon is the short sword. You get 6 movement dice like every other one. You get 2 attack dice and 2 defense dice. It's exactly the same. You get 6 body points and 4 mind points. And the idea behind the elf is that you're kind of part fighter, part spellcaster. Okay. And then lastly is the wizard, who's hiding on the other side of the door over here. No armor, obviously. You get a dagger for your weapon. You use 2 6-sided dice for your movement. And you get 1 attack dice if you are up close to make attacks with your dagger. And you get 2 defense dice. Okay. Which is very generous if you ask me. You get 4 body points and 6 mind points. So you're going to be good at resisting something like sleep spells or fear. And those are the characters. Now there are a bunch of other characters. I'm only showing you the standard ones. Yeah, you will need the wizard to cast spells at some point. because there are certain spells that are like, I mean, when I start showing you the spells, you'll understand why it's important to protect them. Now, with regard to the monsters, we never roll dice for movement for monsters. I know that sounds weird, but that's how it works. You never roll dice for the monsters ever, because they have set movement. So the orc, for example, this one here, the orc, which is this miniature, has a movement of 8. So you get to move 8 squares or less. You just decide how many it's going to be. There's no, you're not required to move the exact 8 distance. Their attack dice, you get to roll 3 attack dice for your attack, and skulls mean that you get a blow on your foe. And if you're dealing with defense against one of the heroes, then you roll just 2 dice. Okay, and anytime you get the monster shield, which is the black shield, it's a defense. 1 body point. So when you reduce a monster to 0 body points, they are removed from the board. They're no longer there. They're out of commission. The game doesn't have anything built into it that allows you to loot the body. So for example, in a lot of fantasy games and Dungeons and Dragons, we would loot the body, but you don't really get the opportunity to loot the body. But you can search for treasure in a room, and you can keep searching for treasure as often as you like, provided there's nothing in the way to stop you from doing so. But the more you search for treasure, the more chance you'll find that you're going to wind up getting wandering monsters, because there's wandering monsters in the treasure card pack. Not just gold and gems that you can use for money or equipment that you can pick up. No, there's also wandering monsters. So the more you search for treasure, the more problematic it becomes for you. Okay, so that is the orc. Only 2 mind points, so they're going to be out of commission pretty quick. Next is the Dread Warrior. The Dread Warrior is this sucker here. And they get to move 7 squares. When they decide to move, that's the maximum distance they can move. What's this, Brian? Okay, I'll try to figure out how to be a patron. Brian, you don't need to figure out how to be a patron. You don't have to be a patron. It's not required. Do you know what I mean? It really isn't. It's nice if you can, but I always assumed that that certain people wouldn't be able to do so. So that's why a lot of my stuff, if you watch it, you can just copy down what I've done. You really like my channel, Brian? Well, thank you. It really shows you put in a lot of time and research into my content. I've put in more research into my content than you might think, but less than you might think too. I am biting off more than I can chew some days. Anyway, so with your Dread Warrior, you get to roll 4 of these suckers. 4 attack dice, which is pretty badass, okay? With defense, you get exactly the same. So I got 2 skulls, so that would be 2 blows that need to be defended by. And then defense is also 4 dice, which you would think I would have rolled a monster shield, but I didn't roll any monster shields, but it's pretty good. You get 3 body points, which means you need to hit the Dread Warrior 3 times to actually kill them. There's little tokens that you stick underneath them to represent that they have been struck. Every time they take a wound, there is a skull. If I can find a skull, I'll grab it. But they may be way down in the... Oh, there we go. Here's a skull. So this little thing here, if it takes a wound, what you do is because it's got more than 1 body point. Other monsters you wouldn't bother with because they're usually only got 1. You put it underneath there. That represents that it's taken 1 hit. If it takes another hit, you put another one of these underneath. If it takes another hit, then you put another one underneath. And when it takes 3 body points, then it's removed from the field. Okay? It is no longer operating. It has 3 mind points, which means you get to roll, for when you're resisting stuff, 3 6-sided dice rather than 2. So there's another one. So 3 of these for resisting any of those sorts of effects. So that is your Dread Warrior. And I'll get rid of that. I've at least demonstrated and shown you what you do with those little tokens there, which is always nice. Next one is the Abomination. The Abomination is kind of a new one. It's replaced the other one that used to exist. I'm not even going to mention what its name is because it really doesn't matter at this point. It gets to move 6 squares, the Abomination. This is this fishy fella here. Okay, gets to move 6 squares or less, depending on what you want to do. You get 3 attack dice for this little sucker. Bible Fire, how are you doing? Scarf needs food. I'll be back. Okay, love you all. Hope Bible Fire. I hope you entered the dice giveaway. Hopefully you joined in, and because I would like you to actually enter the giveaway. People, those of you who keep coming to my live streams, please enter it. All right. So every skull you get is a wound. Defense dice is the same. You get another 3. Body points, you get 2 on these things. They're quite tough. You got to hit them twice to take them down. And they get 3 mind points, which means you get to roll 3 6-sided dice to deal with that little sucker. Okay. So that is that one. The gargoyle is one of the big foes in this game. So I'm going to put it forward right now because the gargoyle is one of my favorite. Out of all of them, it is the scariest little sucker that you can possibly have. The design around it is quite clever. I don't know that I actually think I prefer the original, but this is all right. This is probably better in terms of sculpt, but anyway. There's our gargoyle. You get to move 6 squares for this little sucker. Boy at work, probably win. Boy at work, okay. All right. Now, when you're rolling to attack with a gargoyle, you get 4. Just like the Dread Warrior, you get 4 of these little suckers to roll, which is just terrifying. But when you're defending, you get 5, so you're even harder to hit. You get to roll 5. I got 1 shield on that. This is how bad I am at rolling dice, people. It is terrible. You got 3 body points, so you need to take 3 wounds with your gargoyle before it goes down, and you get 4 mind points, which means every time you have to resist a spell that does this sort of thing, there aren't that many spells that the characters can cast to affect the mind. You're going to be rolling 4 6-sided dice. You need to roll 6s to resist. Okay? All right. So that's the gargoyle. I'll put you aside. Next one. Let's bring in the goblin. The goblin is a little bugger. You know what I'm talking about. You know what a goblin is. Yeah. They get to move really fast. They move 10 squares. So no rolling dice, just move 10 squares or less. When you're making an attack with a goblin, you're going to be using 2 attack dice. But if you're defending, you only get 1 defending dice. Like that's it. You get to roll 1 dice. Okay? And you have to get the monster shield. They get 1 body point, obviously, because they're pretty weak. And they get one mind point. So they have a chance of resisting sleep and fear, but they're only going to get to roll 1 of these things. They have to get a 6. Okay? So that is the goblin. Bye-bye, goblin. See you later. The mummy. Now, the undead are probably some of the weaker monsters, but they often have, even though they're quite weak in terms of their mind, sometimes they have a lot of defense to keep them in the fight. So they move slow, though. They're really, really slow. So this mummy gets 4 squares to move, and it has attack dice as 3, so it's reasonable. So you get the three of those dice, and skulls is what you want. And then, I didn't get any. Well, I got 2. And then when you're defending with your mummy, you're going to roll 4 attack dice. And you need to get the monster shields. I've got shields, but none of them are monster shields. That's the monster shield. So 2 wounds, though. You've got 2 body points. You've got to actually hit it twice to take it down. Okay? All right. That is the mummy. The next one is our zombie. This is the zombie right here. Kind of looks a little bit like a skeleton, but it's not. Okay. It only moves 5 squares, and you get 2 attack dice. 2 of these. You want skulls. Okay, I got 1 skull. And if you're defending, you roll 3 of the attack die, 3 of the white dice, and you're wanting the monster shields. That's to stop any incoming skulls, right? You get 1 body point, 1 blow, and it's down. No mind points. So if you've got something that will affect the mind, and it says that zombies, skeletons, and mummies can be affected by it, then use them on those monsters because it will be useful to you. So that is the zombie. And then lastly is the skeleton. And here is the skeleton. I'll move you over a little bit. So that is the skeleton. The skeleton moves 6 squares. You get 2 attack dice. And defending is going to be 2 attack dice. So if I attack, I got 1 skull. If I'm defending, I roll again. Didn't get any monster shield, so I don't defend. Okay, you get 1 wound, and there's no mind points. So it's pretty easy to take out. One of the weaker, like this, I think the goblin and the skeletons are probably the weakest out of all of them. Now there's another character, and you won't have the stats for it on a card, and that is the Dread Sorcerer. There's usually a sorcerer in the game, and this is the miniature that represents that. Only Zargon, whoever's playing Zargon will have the stats for Zargon. I'm not going to give you the stats and explain what Zargon's like. The reason being is that it's probably better if it be a surprise as part of the game rather than revealing it. Okay. My advice to you, if you've got people playing this game too, is if they're really struggling, just remind them they can just return to the stairs if they want to. If they can make it back to the stairs fast enough, maybe that's a better option. For those of you who are wondering about attacks of opportunity, there's no such thing as opportunity attacks or attacks of opportunity in this game. It doesn't apply at all. So they can move away from a monster. The barbarian can leave the space and start going away if they want to. You can move through another hero. You just can't move past another monster. You can't move into their square. Okay, you'd have to go right round them if that were possible to do so. That's the gist of it. I think I've covered all the different things that I needed to for today. Which, if that seems to be it, I think this might be a good time to promote that dice competition giveaway one more time, and then I am going to leave and take a break because I need it. For those of you who are wondering what is happening tomorrow, I'll tell you now. Tomorrow I am working on the role-playing game that I've been building. So one of the things that somebody had mentioned to me, I hadn't actually responded to the comment. So one of the things that somebody had said to me when I was, I've been doing this for a little while on Fridays. So tomorrow I'm going to start early. I won't be starting at 12 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. It will be starting at 10 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time. We're no longer in daylight savings time now. That means I'm going to be a bit earlier for some of you. And the reason being is I'm probably going to put in between 4 and 5 hours on that. I'm going to take grapple, throwing, and shoving and move it to a variant rule for that system. I had a talk. Somebody said it's too complicated for kids, and they were right. I believe it might be Brian Burton. I believe you were the one who'd made a comment about that, and I was thinking that's fine for a more complicated version of the game, but for a very simple, basic game, you're right. Should not even have rules for grabbing, shoving, grappling, or throwing. So I'm going to move it to there. I believe the only things that are left to really do is a lot of the introductory stuff and tidy things up, format it, which means as of the end of tomorrow, though if you're a patron, you're going to see that draft go up onto my Patreon. I was thinking of putting it behind a paywall and then thinking about not putting it behind a paywall. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it available to anybody who goes to my Patreon and downloads it. So you won't need to be a patron, but you will need to go to my Patreon to find the document. It will be the first draft, which means it will probably be pretty crap. Okay? It's going to need a lot of work to operate the way that it needs to. And I'm also going to ask you, whether you want me to work on classes for that system or on more variant rules to attach to the basic system. I think my group had said, Fred, no, start with the fighter. We want the fighter class fixed up. We want a fighter class that we actually want to play in our home group. And so I might wind up doing that. But it kind of depends. I'm not really too sure where I want to go with that. But anyway, please go join the Call of Cthulhu Big Metal D20 competition so you go in the draw to win this thing. Because there's 8 prizes, so you might as well join up. Okay? Give it a go. All right, that's me. I will be back next week to hack the snot out of HeroQuest and provide you with a whole lot of homebrew rules to make adjustments to that game, and hopefully more tools so that you can just play it without having to go and buy that very expensive board game. If you've already got it, doesn't matter. Anyway, I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon. Really, they support me so that I can keep doing this sort of thing. Otherwise, without them, it'd be a struggle. So thank you very much. I want to thank everybody who took part in the poll today, everybody who took part in the chat and just talked to me. If you're just watching, thank you very much as well. If you're re-watching, great. Okay, awesome. Please go sign up for the dice giveaway. That's why it's there. Hi, big kid. Yes, fighter. I love melee. Yes, it probably wind up being that. Big kid, it's been ages. Haven't seen you around for a long, long time. So they've told me the fighter is the one they want me to deal with first. I hate to say it, people, I am not inclined to just focus on combat, even for a fighter. Okay? If you see a fighter from me, it is going to look more like AD&D. And it's probably going to look more utility rather than just hit things and do damage or do funny dice mechanics, because that's not really where my head is at anyway. So look, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. Provided they're not zombies, mummies, or skeletons. If the mummies, zombies, or skeletons, feel free to butcher them in any way you see fit. But if they are not undead, be nice to them. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.